Introduction. Wheat accounts for about 2/3 of the flour milling industry's costs, so it is vital that millers buy wheat of a consistent quality that is suitable for their needs. A poor quality wheat may be milled into a flour which does not fulfill its specifications, whereas a higher quality, more expensive wheat may reduce the profitability of the grist. It is essential that millers can differentiate between the qualities and characteristics of wheats of different varieties and sources. It should also be remembered that wheat is a crop and it is therefore adversely affected by unsuitable weather, disease, or insect pests while growing in the field. Poor harvests may affect the availability, quality, and price of the wheat supply. So millers must test the wheat delivered to the mill before accepting it. Even if the quality of the wheat delivered is good, it cannot be milled straight away. It needs to be cleaned and prepared in the screen room. This is not a simple process and requires many different machines and much skill. This module examines the structure of the wheat plant, its growth and cultivation, the procedures the miller adopts for wheat intake and storage, and the operation of the screen room in cleaning and conditioning wheat for milling. 1. The wheat plant. Wheats belong to the grass family, Gramineae, and the genus Triticum. Although there are different species and varieties, they have the same basic structure of roots, stems, leaves and spiked ears, see figures 1 and 2. Most plants are 50 to 100 centimeters tall. The maximum height of the shoot system is 2 meters, depending on wheat variety and environmental conditions. 1. The wheat grain. The wheat grain is a fruit. It consists of a seed contained within a succession of bran layers known as the pericarp, fruit coat, see Fig. 3c. The seed is comprised of a germ, starchy endosperm, and aleurone layer surrounded by the nucella layers and a seed coat, testa. A crease, or ventral indentation, extends the whole length and roughly halfway through the breadth of the grain. It is the crease that makes the milling process complicated. Wheat grains are bearded at one end. A beard is a collection of awns, each of which is a hollow hair made up of empty cells. The miller separates starchy endosperm from the other components of the grain to produce white flour. The other components emerge from the mill as the co-products, bran and fine wheat feed, shorts in the USA and pollard in Australia. Bran is the coarse residue from the break passages, fine wheat feed is the accumulated residues from the purifiers and reduction passages. Bran consists of pericarp, testa, nucella layers, aleurone cells. In some mills, the embryonic axis is separated as the mill fraction germ, while in others it is included in the wheat feed. Nutritionally, it is rich in certain vitamins, protein, and oil. Roots 1 to 2.5 meters of root system. 75% of root structures usually found in the top 30 centimeters of soil. Spike, also called the ear, contains the grains. These are normally the only parts used for human consumption. Short-stemmed varieties run less risk of wind damage and tend to produce higher yields. (1.1.1) The pericarp. This consists of at least 4 layers: epidermis, hypodermis, cross cells, and tube cells. It provides a protective coat which prevents water and molds from penetrating the dormant grain and forms a coarse coat over the grain surface. 1.1.2 The testa, seed coat. This is the outer covering of the seed. It consists of 2 layers of cells running at different angles to one another and containing yellow and orange pigments. In red wheat, orange pigment predominates, and in yellow wheat, yellow pigment. Little pigment is present in white wheat. 1.1.3 The nucella, hyaline, layer. This is a thin, transparent layer of uniform cells which becomes thinner as it overlaps the edge of the germ. 1.1. For the endosperm A, the aleurone layer. This is the innermost bran layer and outer covering of the endosperm. Its large, thick-walled cells provide most of the protein and vitamins in wheat feed, higher extraction flour and wheat meals. B. The starchy endosperm. The term starchy is used to distinguish this layer from the aleurone layer, which is botanically part of the endosperm tissue but is very different from the remainder. Endosperm comprises 82% to 86% of grain weight and is the potential white flour. It provides the germinating seed with energy and nutrition until the seedling roots and shoots have become established and can draw their requirements from the soil. In hard wheats, starch granules are held firmly in a continuous protein matrix. When milled, the endosperm fractures along cell walls into distinct particles, producing free-flowing, easily sifted stalks. Clean separation of endosperm from the bran is achieved relatively easily. In soft wheats the protein matrix is interrupted by air spaces. Starch granules are held less firmly and separation from the protein occurs easily on milling, producing a dusty flour. Fracture occurs across cells as well as along cell walls giving irregular, rough-surfaced particles. Endosperm does not separate cleanly from the bran and as a result a high flour yield and a low color combination is difficult to achieve. NB. In some countries the term hard is applied only to durum wheat or its endosperm. All other wheats are regarded as soft. 1.1.5 The wheat germ. The wheat germ consists of the embryonic axis and the scutellum. A. The scutellum. The scutellum is a shield-shaped organ between the embryonic axis and the endosperm. B. The embryonic axis. This contains the elements of a young plant, the plumule, which grows into a shoot, and a radicle, which becomes the primary root. 1.2 Growth and development. This can be divided into 6 stages. 1. Germination. 2. Emergence. 3. Tillering and stem extension. 4. Heading and flowering. 5. Pollination and fertilization. 6. Ripening. 1.2.1 Germination. When a wheat grain is placed in a moist medium, water enters the grain. Oxygen also enters the seed, dissolved in the water. As tissues become hydrated, enzymes are activated and various chemical reactions proceed much more rapidly than when the grain is dormant. Germination usually takes place regardless of whether the grain is in darkness or in light. A germinating wheat seed is shown in Figure 5. The minimum water content of the seed required for active germination varies but is generally between 35% and 40%. The temperatures for germination are approximately minimum 3.5 to 5.5 degrees Celsius, optimum 20 to 25 degrees Celsius, maximum 35 degrees Celsius. NB. Alpha amylase is a starch-digesting enzyme of particular importance to bakers. Sprouting during storage may cause high levels of alpha amylase in the wheat. When flour made from sprouted wheat is used in bread, it produces a sticky crumb which is unattractive and causes problems in slicing. The Hagberg falling number test is carried out on grain at intake so that millers can avoid buying high amylase wheat. 1.2.2 Emergence. The coleoptile, enclosing the plumule, the first leaf, emerges from the ground, see Figure 6. The leaf receives some light through the transparent wall of the coleoptile, enabling the production of chlorophyll. Thus, the leaf is already green when it emerges through the tip of the coleoptile and is able to manufacture food for the young plant by photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is a process by which plants use the energy from light to synthesize carbohydrates from carbon dioxide and water. Almost all of the wheat plant exposed to sunlight develops chlorophyll and photosynthesizes throughout its growth. 1.2.3 Tillering and stem extension. In the tillering stage the number of stems, leaves, and roots increase, and in the stem extension stage there is a great increase of new stem and leaf tissue. This is also a period of accumulation of essential elements and of synthesizing and storing a great variety of organic plant foods which are later used by the developing seed. Amino acids from the proteins stored in the lower leaves, together with sugars and other compounds, are translocated to the upper portions of the plant, providing material and energy for the building of the head and other parts. The extent of tillering varies greatly under different conditions, ranging from complete absence of tillering to the development of several hundred tillers, complete with normal heads, on a single plant. 1.2.4 Heading and flowering. When the heads have emerged and reached their maximum height, flowering begins, see Figure 7. It is at the heading and flowering stages, particularly the latter, that the wheat plant is most vulnerable to extreme temperatures and drought. These can induce sterility. 1.2.5 Pollination and fertilization. Immature ears of wheat consist of spikelets. A spikelet is usually composed of 2 empty glumes, each of which produces between 2 and 8 florets. Each floret contains both sets of reproductive